What if I told you that your body is already using thousands of tiny molecular messengers right now, repairing your tissues, regulating your hormones, and slowing down your aging process? And most people have absolutely no idea they even exist. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on one of the most fascinating areas of modern biological research. Welcome to Longevity Lab Research. Let's talk about peptides. If you have been anywhere near the health and wellness space recently, whether that is fitness communities, biohacking forums, or even mainstream news, you have probably heard the word peptide thrown around a lot. Ozempic, semaglutide, BPC-157. These are all peptides. But what actually are they? How do they work? And why are researchers around the world spending billions of dollars studying them right now? That is exactly what we are covering today, from the absolute basics all the way through to what cutting-edge science is currently discovering. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will understand peptides better than 99% of people out there. Okay, so let's start from the very beginning. No jargon, no complicated biochemistry, just a clear, simple explanation. Think of your body like an incredibly sophisticated factory. And inside that factory, there are thousands of different workers, each with a specific job. Some workers repair damaged equipment, others regulate the temperature, some manage energy supply, others send messages between departments so everyone knows what to do. Peptides are those workers. More specifically, a peptide is a short chain of amino acids. Now, you have probably heard of amino acids before. They are the building blocks of protein. When you eat a chicken breast or a handful of almonds, your body breaks that protein down into individual amino acids. Then it rearranges those amino acids into specific sequences, and those sequences become peptides. The fascinating thing is that the sequence of amino acids determines everything. Change the order, you get a completely different peptide with a completely different job in the body. Here is a simple way to think about it. Imagine the 26 letters of the alphabet. Each letter is an amino acid. A short word, say 4 or 5 letters, that is a peptide. A long paragraph, that is a full protein. Same building blocks, completely different function depending on the arrangement. Your body naturally produces thousands of different peptides. Insulin, which regulates your blood sugar, is a peptide. The hormones that tell your brain you are full after eating, peptides. The signals that tell your muscles to repair themselves after exercise, peptides. They are absolutely everywhere in human biology, and researchers are only now beginning to fully understand just how powerful they are. So now that we know what peptides are, let's talk about how they actually work inside your body, because this is where it gets really interesting. Every cell in your body has receptors on its surface. Think of these receptors like locks, and peptides are the keys. When a specific peptide, the right key, connects with the right receptor, the right lock, it triggers a very specific biological response inside that cell. That response could be almost anything. It might tell the cell to produce more of a certain protein. It might signal an immune response. It might activate a repair mechanism. It might regulate how much of a hormone gets released. The beauty of peptides is their precision. Unlike many other biological compounds that have broad effects across the whole body, peptides tend to be highly targeted. They go to specific receptors and trigger specific responses. This is why researchers find them so scientifically interesting. Now here is something that most people do not realize. As we age, our body's natural peptide production starts to decline. The peptides responsible for cellular repair become less abundant. The ones that regulate growth hormone production slow down. The ones involved in immune function become less efficient. This is one of the reasons researchers are so interested in studying synthetic peptides, compounds that are structurally similar to the ones your body naturally produces. The question science is currently exploring is whether supplementing with these compounds can influence the same biological pathways that naturally occurring peptides do. The research is genuinely fascinating and still very much in its early stages for many of these compounds. But the science behind the concept is solid. and that is why this field has exploded in the last few years. Now let's look at the 5 main categories of peptides that researchers are currently most focused on, because not all peptides do the same thing, and understanding these categories will help everything else we cover on this channel make a lot more sense. Category 1: Recovery and Healing Peptides. The first category is probably the one that got the most attention in fitness and athletic communities over the last few years. These are peptides that researchers study for their potential role in tissue repair, things like tendon healing, muscle recovery, gut health, and injury rehabilitation. Compounds like BPC-157, which stands for Body Protection Compound, were originally isolated from proteins found in human gastric juice. Animal studies have shown some genuinely remarkable results in areas like tendon and ligament repair. Human research is still limited, but the early signals have been enough to make this one of the most discussed compounds in research communities worldwide. Category 2: Metabolic and weight-related peptides. You have almost certainly heard about this category, even if you did not realize it. GLP-1 receptor agonists, the class of compounds that includes semaglutide and tirzepatide, are peptides. They work by mimicking a naturally occurring hormone in the gut that regulates appetite and blood sugar. The clinical research behind these compounds is some of the most robust in modern medicine, with large-scale randomized controlled trials showing significant effects on body weight and metabolic health. And researchers are now studying next-generation compounds in this family, including retatrutide, that appear to work through multiple pathways simultaneously. Category 3: Anti-aging and longevity peptides. This is perhaps the most exciting frontier in peptide research right now. Scientists studying compounds like epiphalon, a short 4-amino acid peptide first developed by Russian researchers, have published data suggesting effects on telomere length and pineal gland function. GHK-Cu, a copper peptide, has been studied extensively for its role in cellular repair and skin regeneration. The longevity research space is moving fast, and peptides are right at the center of it. Category 4: Cognitive and neurological peptides. The brain is not left out of this research either. Compounds like Cmax and Selank, originally developed in Russia, have been studied for their effects on neurological function. Cmax in particular has been researched in relation to cognitive performance and neuroprotection. Dihexa, developed at Washington State University, has been studied for its potential effects on neural connectivity. This is an area where the research is still very early, but the scientific community's interest is growing rapidly. Category 5: Hormonal and endocrine peptides. The final category involves peptides that interact with the endocrine system, the network of glands and hormones that regulates almost every function in your body. Compounds that influence growth hormone release, like ipamorelin, CJC-1295, and sermorelin, have been studied for their potential role in areas like body composition, sleep quality, and cellular repair. Kisspeptin, a naturally occurring peptide, plays a fascinating role in reproductive hormone regulation and is the subject of ongoing clinical research. So, where does the research actually stand right now? This is the question that matters most, and the honest answer is that it depends enormously on which compound you are talking about. For GLP-1, compounds like semaglutide and tirzepatide, the research is extensive. We are talking about large-scale clinical trials involving tens of thousands of patients with robust peer-reviewed data published in top-tier medical journals. The science here is as solid as it gets. For many other peptides, BPC-157, epiphalon, Cmax, and others, the research picture is much more limited. There is often compelling animal model data. There are published mechanistic studies explaining how these compounds interact with biological systems, but large-scale controlled human trials are largely absent. This is not necessarily because the compounds do not work. In many cases, it comes down to economics. Peptides are generally not patentable, which means pharmaceutical companies have little financial incentive to fund the expensive clinical trials required for regulatory approval. What this means is that the research community is genuinely interested, but the evidence base for many of these compounds is still developing. At Longevity Lab Research, our job is to track that research honestly, to tell you what the science actually says without overstating or understating what we know. And right now, what we know is this: peptide biology is one of the most active and rapidly evolving areas of human health research. New studies are being published constantly, and we are going to be covering all of it right here. If you made it this far, genuinely thank you. Most people scroll past content like this because it feels too complicated, but you stayed. And that tells me you're exactly the kind of person this channel is built for, someone who wants to actually understand the science rather than just follow trends. Over the coming weeks, we are going to go deep on every category we touched on today. We will break down individual compounds, examine the research, look at what scientists are actually finding, and cut through all the noise and hype that surrounds this space. If that sounds like something you want to be part of, hit subscribe. And if you have a specific compound or topic you want us to cover first, drop it in the comments. I read every single one. We will see you in the next video. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. All compounds discussed are referenced from published scientific research. Nothing in this video constitutes medical advice. Always consult a qualified healthcare professional before making any health decisions.